Let's make history.
An international symbol of urban failure. Decades of gutted dreams and generations of displaced families. One New York neighborhood that straddled a thin line for years, a few square miles that hung in the balance. Then poverty turned to chaos, and that tipped the scales. Yet our block is still hanging in there. For sure, the battle for Briggs Avenue hasn't been lost yet. Not with newcomers arriving every day.
If the rest of the world could intermesh and gel together like those kids do, this world would be a much nicer place in which to live. I love it here.
Kingsbridge is a neighborhood in the northwest Bronx, which starts where Marble Hill ends and stretches all the way up to the southern edge of Van Cortlandt Park. This area was inhabited for thousands of years by the Munsee Native Americans. Then when the Europeans began to arrive, the area was acquired by Adrian Vander Donk, who's the same person who Yonkers was named after. He owned part of that land during that period as well, because Kingsbridge actually encompassed much more land than it does today. It included Riverdale, Spuyten Duyvil, Fieldston, that whole section in the far west Bronx. All of that was Kingsbridge going up to Van Cortlandt Park. And so he owned that area. It went into the hands of two people, Betts and Tibbetts. They got the land, his estate divvied it up and started selling off lots. From there it went to Mr. Van Cortlandt, who obviously Van Cortlandt Park is named after. And the neighborhood of Kingsbridge got its name from a literal bridge. And this bridge was built in the 1600s. It was the only way to get into Manhattan if you were in the Bronx. It's that one bridge. And it went over a strip of water, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was filled in. Check out my video on the history of Marble Hill if you haven't already. I go into further detail. There was water there. There was like a little strip of water, and it was filled in because it was so hard for ships to get around the Spuyten Duyvil Creek, that strip of water between Manhattan, northern Manhattan, and the Bronx. So the King's Bridge was the only bridge for a long period of time, starting in the 1600s. Then, of course, other people built bridges, and now you have a bunch of bridges to get into Manhattan if you're in the Bronx. And that strip of water was where 230th Street is today, right at the northern edge, the northern border of Marble Hill. And the reason why they chose to build the King's Bridge in that area that they did is because it was actually a section of the Boston Post Road. Look at my video on the history of Fordham Road. I go into further detail on that one with the Boston Post Road, which was developed out of an old Native American trail, which went from New York City all the way up to Boston, Massachusetts. And some people would even argue that it goes all the way down to the southeastern United States. There's other veins and arteries of roads or trails that connected to the Boston Post Road.
It was the early 1980s in the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx, a place where you could find children laughing, church bells ringing, pizza being thrown in on the same block, boarded up windows, street performers, and bar fights. Vibrant and diverse, people living there said they felt Kingsbridge was in the midst of change.
A neighborhood fell, engulfed in flames of despair, the battle here lost. This is still the Bronx, for the most part still intact. An area just 10 minutes north of that battleground. The Central Bronx, about where Fordham Road crosses the Grand Concourse. Briggs Avenue. And the folks on Briggs Avenue know they're in a fight for survival. They know it's their turn to walk that thin line. Lots of gutsy New York people here. Together, they're living proof of a block gingerly groping its way to a new ethnic balance.
Well, it's gone from a predominantly Irish Jewish to predominantly Hispanic, black, and a mix of others.
The golden rule to one side, the street rules at the other. Sandwiched between is the fulcrum of a block delicately balanced at its center, a tightrope along which working people, new immigrants, and old-timers tread daily.
Well, I tell you, it's a change. It's really a change, yes. We had nothing but Irish people and Norwegian. And they all move and others come in. Some are nice. I can't put them all in one pot, but some of them, you know. They plant bottles in my yard now, see?
They plant bottles.
Yeah.
What do you think of this block?
Ain't nothing. Too much problems.
What's the problem?
People, they steal and they rob and beat you up.
How come you know so much?
Because I'm out here, I'm a mother of 9 and 17 grandchildren. What do you think? I'm supposed to know. I'm not no child. I wasn't just born.
But she's in for a fight here on Briggs Avenue. Many have just given up. Others on our block live with rituals of fear, all too familiar to millions of New Yorkers.
When we go into their homes and find out that they're afraid to go out for a container of milk, and they live amongst the memorabilia, that's their whole life. In their homes, they wake up, they go out to the store, and they scurry back in. And if they're out in the street, they like to make it pray.
Breaking news, police say these two men on a scooter are behind a quadruple shooting outside a crowded park. The youngest victim, just 3 years old.
The shooting happened just before 6 in Kingsbridge in the Bronx.
A chaotic scene at St. James Park Tuesday after 4 people were shot.
It was like 5 or 6 shots.
Police say the victims were walking on the sidewalk. A 25-year-old man shot in the back. A 23-year-old man who police believe is his cousin shot multiple times. And a 6-year-old boy and his 3-year-old brother both shot in the leg. Police say this surveillance video shows the 2 suspects wearing all black and face masks rolling up on a scooter. The passenger got off, fired some shots, hopped back on, then the 2 sped off going the wrong way on a one-way street.
Drug use in their area has exploded, and there are empty syringes and needles everywhere.
It is not a pretty sight out here tonight. We have had several Bronxites call in to let us know about the conditions here by the underpass and to come out here for ourselves tonight and see it. Well, it is pretty alarming. We've seen open syringes, used needles, and people even injecting themselves. Take a look for yourselves. From day to night, this is the reality for Bronxites living near the Kingsbridge Road underpass along the B and D line.
We go through a lot because you don't know. I mean, they're walking with you. You don't know if they're going to hold you up.
Nilda Torres has lived in this area for 42 years. She says she sees people using drugs as soon as she steps outside.
That's their corner. Their corner is in that building where I live at and across the street.
Syringes, caps, and needles litter the ground. But Bronxites say it wasn't always like this.
This year, it got really bad.
Councilmember Oswald Feliz for District 15 serves this area, and for him, the issue is personal.
I've seen it every single day. I actually live right in front of it.
The shocking drug use happening just steps away from a playground and school.
You see how this didn't happen overnight. The dysfunction eased its way in, starting slowly in the 70s, then in the 80s, as you saw from the footage. And now, 40 years later, it's completely deteriorated. And I mean, part of it is government mismanagement, but the people of the communities also have to take part of that blame. You cannot just blame it all on government. It's a lot of little things. They say the devil is in the details. And you go through the Bronx now in the nighttime, man, you walk through these blocks, people with the hookah out in front of their buildings, which, you know, you have a right to enjoy yourself, but music blasted 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, just not caring, not having any type of consideration for your neighbor. This stuff was unheard of, you know, back before the neighborhood started to take that downward spiral. You know, all this just careless littering, you know, all these little things that may seem like nothing, but, you know, it's the absence of those things, the littering, the loud music, is the glue that holds a community together, where kids can thrive, you know, and generations can improve as time goes on. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Will Flores TV on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and X.